The next thing which we want to see is how threads can be interrupted. So now one thread is actually working, it's either sleeping, it's executing code, it's waiting for another thread, anything. We can actually interrupt a particular thread while it is working just to make sure that, any unnecessary thing is not happening in that thread. So for example, in this particular use case, so first of all, I really want to change some code over here. We were waiting for some time just to make sure that, if balance is getting updated or not. And if it does get updated and we get notified, then, if the balance is greater than amount, I really wanted to do something. If, it did not get notified within that period of time, then we were actually, just printing the balance and, not doing the withdrawal. But it may be that, the withdrawal, the balance is definitely, greater than amount. And this part is something which I want to execute also, if I do not have to wait, immediately as I actually work on this. So I would just add an else if over here and then, we should be good. But now I actually want to make sure that, any withdrawal is not illegal. So let's say, for example, I do have, a static private int illegal access. And this I would really want to make it false, that, we do not have any illegal access over here, and this would be Boolean. So we do not have any illegal access, then we are good. But what if we do have an illegal access? Then I do not want any withdrawal to happen. Okay. So now I have these two threads, one thread is actually withdrawing, another thread is depositing. We are not really worried if, deposits happen, but we are really worried if, withdrawals happen. And what I'll do is, I'll create a new thread, and this thread would be called thread withdraw. And here, instead of, starting it over here, I would do a withdraw.start. But now I really want to check, if there was some illegal access or not. So if illegal access equal to true, let's say, the withdrawal does start, and then, suddenly in my own automated system, the bank, has an automated system to understand, probably notify the user that something is being withdrawn from your card or anything, and then the user immediately gives a missed call on that particular number. And then, so that's why, I will make sure that, there is a very less time duration between this particular withdrawal starting and, me checking the illegal access. But in any case, I check whether it is true or not. And then what I want to do is I actually want to interrupt this withdrawal. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll call an interrupt method over here, and this is going to interrupt this particular, thread. And when it actually tries to wait for, any balance to come up, or probably even, I can actually want to wait for some time, just to make sure if this particular withdrawal is not illegal. So I would, again surround it with try and catch. And every time we surrounded it with a try and catch, you always see that this is an interrupted exception. So what happens is that when my program would be interrupted, then when my thread would be interrupted, then this particular part of the code is going to get executed. So what I'll do is I'll just do a simple sysout over here, and I'll write that, thread, or I would write withdraw interrupted. And similarly, this is something which I'm going to write in this particular block as well, that, the withdrawal is interrupted and we were not able to complete it. So generally what we would do is we would simply, return from this particular thread. I do not want to do anything. I would just, want to return. That's it. I don't want to do the, to do any withdrawal. So what I do is I would simply return. So now, when I actually run this, nothing would happen because we have this illegal access to not be true, right? So we have this, amount withdrawn successfully. But let's say illegal access does become true over here. So somehow we get that, illegal access does become true. And, this is where I would want to really interrupt the particular withdrawal method. Now, when I actually try to run this, now this would say waiting for balance update, withdrawal interrupted, depositing amount, and the current balance is 2000. So we are able to interrupt this particular withdrawal correctly, just the way we would want to in a real world scenario as well. So here I would just, comment this out, because we do not want to always interrupt this thing. We just want to make sure that, we have this particular illegal access check every time. Another way to actually check whether this particular thread is interrupted and then, return is doing a thread.interrupted check as well. So we have this particular withdraw thread. I'm starting this, and I would do an interrupt over here. I could also check, whether this thing is interrupted or not. So I would do thread.interrupted. So if this thread is indeed interrupted, then, for here I would just do a sysout. Withdrawal interrupted and could not be completed. Now there is a difference between interrupted and is interrupted. So we could use is interrupted as well. And let me actually try to run this now. We have waiting for balance update, depositing amount withdrawn successfully. If I do this illegal access to be true, then we have this withdrawal interrupted and could not be completed. And the reason for this coming up first is because we interrupted the withdrawal, and then we, checked if it is interrupted or not. And then we were actually, executing this particular line. And then, that is actually something which got printed later on, just because, these two threads are working independently, the main thread and the withdrawal thread. But the main point is that, we do understand that, withdrawal was interrupted and it could not be completed. There's another method which I just showed before this thing, and that is this interrupted method. And this, the only difference between is interrupted and interrupted is that, interrupted is a static method which should definitely be accessed in only a static way. So for now, I would just keep it as is interrupted. Okay. So if the illegal access is true, then it would be interrupted and it would show that, withdrawal is interrupted. Let me try to run this again. Again, we have this withdrawal interrupted and could not be completed just because, the illegal access became true. So we saw about the wait, notify and notify all method. We also saw about how we could interrupt a particular thread using the interrupt method and check whether the thread is interrupted or not using the interrupted or is interrupted method.